As well, we're going to round out this panel with Dr. Chris Cleverly, who is the CEO of KamPay.
The financial inclusion issue in Africa is largely to do with the fact that a lot of concentration has been on speculation, as Desiree has identified, and some of the opportunities.
A lot of there around there, like a buzzword. Can we say that this is already like a buzzword, as it was in the block?
I think there's been that a buzzword around the world. That's just not for Africa. I think that it's a global buzzword. But I think the key real elements here are what can it do. So when people can see what it can do, that's when they take it on board. The financial inclusion is not just financial inclusion within people within Africa, but how Africans are included throughout the globe. Globally, Africans are kept aside and excluded because of high interest rates, for example. The opportunity that DeFi has to reduce and remove, ameliorate, increase interest rates and be able to play with those, depending on which side of the barrier you are, whether you're a saver or whether you are someone looking for debt, is huge. The impact that it can have on microfinance could be hugely dramatic. The effect it could have on mortgages could be a real game changer for people looking to have ownership within the continent. The opportunity that NFTs have, is another thing where people look at it as a speculative instrument, but in fact, NFTs, non-fungible tokens, can be used to actually create the necessary registration for land. Which could also be a game changer. So if you combine DeFi and NFC, for example, you have there a ready way which you can finance a whole new generation of people throughout Africa through land registry and also with mortgages. Just that's a very simple example. As Desiree said, we're only now coming to the point where the technology's caught up with the ambition. A lot of people have big ideas. Those big ideas created ICOs. Those ICOs crashed. And so there's now a lot of projects sitting around. But the next generation of projects will come from a place like Africa where there's a necessity and a need. So I think that's, for me, I think one of the most exciting things that I think we should really look at in terms of financial inclusion is not just the ambition, but that people have, but also that the technology needs to catch up with that ambition for it to be used on the ground. But if you look at things like the take-up of technology in Africa for mobile banking, which is often the big example everyone uses, M-Pesa being the sort of poster child for that out of Kenya, you're actually going to see that a lot of projects are going to come out of Africa. You've got Cardano coming up with work in Ethiopia that's allowing people to start to get involved. A lot of stuff's happening in Uganda for a number of years now, for a good couple of years now. I think that financial inclusion goes hand in hand with blockchain and cryptocurrency in a way that traditional finance just didn't. Look, I see the world as being a multi-currency universe. So I think that there's going to be many currencies providing different services. We haven't even begun the mergers and acquisition period of cryptocurrencies, which will probably happen when the next rise in crypto prices happens again. You're going to suddenly see an increase in that. Some companies like Binance, etc., started buying up smaller ones, but you're going to see that with the currencies themselves, where they start to include other currencies and technologies to try and create a full stack. But the reality of it is that we do need to have cross-border currency. We've got an incredible initiatives going on in Africa at the moment, west, south, east, and central, not just with the African Free Trade Zone coming up. Those things will require a means of exchange that is fungible, that crosses borders, that is resistant to interest, and that's useful. And at the moment, there are no currencies in Africa that tick that box. And so there's a huge reliance on the dollar. And the issue with the reliance on the dollar is when the dollar catches a cold, Africa gets COVID. So the problem we have now is that you're going to see an inflation rising very quickly in the States. And even though that'll appear incremental if you're an American, it will be catastrophic for many people in Africa, and it will be the push that I think will lead to digitalization of currencies in Africa, central bank digital currencies. But ultimately, people are going to look for value. You know, what is it reliant on? What is it built on? What does that currency come from? What's underneath it? What underpins it? And it may well be that people are looking for things that are not just fiat-based. Well, just sort of jumping in there, I think that you know, there's been a lot of discussion about the potential for gold to become the backing for a stable. I think if you look at historically the fact that Africa has been disadvantaged by its former cultural and colonial masters by using their currencies, whether it be France or it'll be Britain or it's America, then actually stepping outside of that paradigm and actually instead of relying on the interest rates and the currency prices to be actually set by a third party that has not got the same trust positions, has not got the same disinterest in having an equal proposition of sales coming out of Africa or purchases out of Africa, and is therefore Africa is always disadvantaged by having to use a currency where the advantage of the importer is so pronounced. So actually stepping out of it, maybe there is another way of doing it, and is to look at a true asset base, albeit that some people still think of fiat gold as a sort of fiat. It has been a trusted value for a very long time. So maybe that could provide a backing, or maybe it's a basket of assets that are found in Africa, from bauxite to cobalt. But it'd be nice to see something else that actually is a true
diamonds, maybe, for example, as well. Other
precious
stones.
Nobody. Yeah, well, look, if you can NFT diamonds, then maybe that would work. But there's a lot of fake ones out there.